running the gas, fire here, same spot.
It doesn't even catch at all.
Nope. Now I'm moving it so you can see it more effectively, but if I leave it on the same spot, after a while, in about 10 seconds in total, you start seeing the light.
Hey guys, it's Mandi with Global Hemp Association. I wanted to say thank you so much for joining. I'm excited about the opportunity to build a relationship and connect this supply chain. I mean, after all, that's why we started the association. Our association was built on the foundation of connecting supply chain, building relationships, and helping you grow your business. Anyone from farmers, manufacturers, and distributors, people that are passionate about the supply chain, and those creating products selling into biofuels, plastics, textiles, construction, and building materials.
So then it's like, oh my goodness, and so it's just like, damn. I guess children trying to throw things in the whole thing, and I guess, and that's why I have a lot of respect for especially for what you do and for other women that I meet in the industry. I'm meeting a lot of women in the hemp industry and the industry. It's an up and coming trend. And I find a very interesting polarity, which I guess we could use this as a segue into this recording. It's worlds apart almost when I'm interacting with a woman in the agriculture space and a man in the agriculture space. Men, I feel like many of the men I meet, I feel like their fathers kind of raised them into the family business, and they have this whole, I've got to earn my stripes, and I'm earning my stripes, and I've got to, or they carry a lot of that family knowledge through. But I feel like women are kind of also still proving themselves, and many in the agriculture space, whether it's handling equipment, whether it's running the business, whether it's finding a new product like myself. I find that the reception, the acceptance of of a new product in the agriculture space is totally it's totally different between literally almost to a point of I hate to say it, almost to gender, because women are willing to listen to me more or give me at least 3 more minutes of their time versus the male counterpart, which would be like, what do you got? What's going on? And I'm cool with it. My father raised me for business in that sense when he's like, get to the point, don't jib jab. Okay, sure. Just give, you have 60 seconds to put your points on there, and that's it. And I just feel like with other people, it's more of there'll be more of okay, cool,
Do you think that it's because they're set in their ways? Like men are more set in their ways and they feel like you're competing, and women are more open and eager to change? What do you suppose drives that?
I would honestly agree with that. But at the same time, I'm very against stereotyping, because being Hispanic myself, it's kind of like when I walk into a bar, growing up, and then it's in another state outside of Florida, and then they're like, oh, so they'll be I had an interaction once, I'll never forget, and it's are you from Mexico? If so, what part? And I'm like, no, why would I be from Mexico? And then they're like, well, you speak Spanish. I'm like, that doesn't mean a thing. I'm Peruvian.
Welcome to America.
Yeah. And then they're like, I apologize. I know Peru, Machu Picchu. I should have known. I'm like, okay, cool. And I said, clearly the demographics here is Mexican, so I'm just going to be like, cool. Okay. I'm going to try to avoid Spanish. And it's nothing personal against Mexican. It's just Peruvians are very proud, and we are very proud and proudful of our heritage, as much as Mexicans are, as much as Puerto Ricans are, as much as Cubans are.
Sure.
It's a Latin thing. We're just, how they say Latino and proud? Well, that's just what we use when we're in New York or major cities within the demographic. We're a minority. But if we're amongst ourselves, we say, hey, I'm Peruvian. And we say it with pride. And so that's why for us, it's I avoid the stereotypical Gen X. And it's also kind of that also could help you understand how the same thing I find when I'm presenting a product. So let me just show it on camera here. So this little thing is what I've been peddling.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. You know what? Let me shut down the background. I apologize for that.
You're okay. This is, I was just looking at my face and I'm like, man, I've got shine and glare today. But
hey, I thought it was you putting on an aura to like kind of, be like, all right, let's try a new image. Let me turn off the back. Okay, cool. And you don't see my chaos behind me. That's what I love about these dividers. You can just put all the crap behind it and you don't see anything.
It's actually really cool. Yeah.
I got this from a friend and it's what's the best gift. So this is the magic sauce.
Okay.
This one's actually for plant roots. You put it in or plant water, essentially. And you just put it, it's supposed to go through plant roots. You could go hydroponically or aquaponics or any of that stuff. So that's the stuff I've been peddling. And the reason why I say peddling is because I'll say the most modest agronomist-friendly farmers have kind of said, well, what kind of snake oil is that? And I'll be like, what? And they're like, snake oil? I didn't know that existed. And it's like, and then that was honestly the first time I heard it, like about a year ago.
Really?
Well, I had always heard it as like a joke in a movie or something, but I didn't know it was an actual thing in farming where it's kind of like, quit peddling snake oil, kid. And I'm like, what? And it's like, I get it. I get why you're saying that. It's because it's something new. It hasn't been academically tested. And, it's not USDA. It doesn't have a USDA lab test result on it. I mean, all of our results.
I think part of it too is especially the industry and farmers have been taken advantage of so much that I think it's like, I would imagine, or I guess I'm validating what you're saying in the sense of a new product, new guy in town. Who are you? Why should I try your product? I've been, robbed and taken advantage of by everybody else. What makes you different? Right. So how are you getting around that? What are you doing? Yeah. Tell me like what's happened and what does that look like for you?
Oh, perfect. Thank you for asking, because it's super simple. All I have to do is find a Bible, raise it up and say, I believe in the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not lie. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't do that. No, I don't like to. I avoid
and then I eat as much as I can.
Exactly. No. Yeah, I know, right? The typical guy competition. Who can eat more? Who can eat more?
Do you ever watch have you ever seen the 7 Deadly Sins, the movie?
No, I think.
Oh God, you got to watch it. It's called 7 and it's a horror movie, but it's, I think, can't remember who's in it. And now I'm Tom Cruise, and he's a murderer or an investigator on a case where somebody murders 7 people, and he writes out and spells out the 7 deadly sins. So it's really, really, really good. But that movie, every time somebody talks about the sins, I'm like, oh, there's glutton, sloth, lust, like all of them. And the way the killer lays it out in the movie is pretty
good. Okay, I'll look it up.
You have to go watch it. It's older. It's an older movie, but it's really good. Yeah.
I appreciate older movies. They had more quality to the storyline, and they honestly like to screw you a little bit. Like, wait, what? I can't believe that science. Like, they don't make movies like that.
Oh, you'll shit your pants at the end of the movie then. Yeah, this is a really good movie. But there's one part where he makes one of the guys overeat and then kicks him in the stomach and it kills him because he's glutton, and it's just every single time that, yeah. Anyways, sidetrack squirrel.
It's good.
So, so I want to know, how are you getting around this? What are you doing? And what's your approach?
I'm honestly used to the whole door closing thing. Like, okay, thank bye. I'm getting used to it. You're going to laugh what happened to me. So I was, when we first started, like when I first met you, I think it was in January, December, I think. Mm-hmm. And I was, you were kind of helping me out at the beginning, getting my feet wet to the market. And I discovered that hemp farmers are the traditional corn farmers, just, pivoting to a new product in the future industry. Mm-hmm. One where they have more control of the commodity. They're kind of, I guess, where you can say, and I've seen this in your conversations with everyone else, is like, there's an opportunity for farmers to take the hemp market and be the actual stakeholders directly instead of Wall Street and commodity markets, as it's always been with corn and soybean and wheat, which what happened there. So hemp is still not really a majorly Wall Street controlled commodity. So farmers obviously have the opportunity to make millions of dollars as the big Wall Street boys by being the main controlling stakeholders, as it should be to an extent where a farmer should have a piece of the pie. So I find that that's what I feel like that's what most of them that I've spoken to are focusing on, is trying to get their market viability of their hemp product. So, just to kick back on that. So like back to the whole, like I said earlier, men and women, women are kind of like, okay, fine, I'll hear your snake oil concept because, I feel like women in the industry probably have had a little more rejection growing up by some of the men, and they kind of don't want to pay everyone back with the same coin. So that's why I always use a neutral sales approach. And if, I've done your product, if you mind just give me 2-3 minutes every time. If you don't like it, shut me out. And women are like, all right, fine, let's see what you got going on. And then it's like, okay, so you've got a biopolymer. Okay, how does a bioplastic fit into plants? Okay, so then I have to bring out my little chart from the USDA. It's 68% algae, 32% carbon, and it's on the website. And then I'm like, okay, so that's it? Well, it's essentially algae, and it's just plant calories, plant proteins, and plant omega 3, 6, and 9. It's not human edible, but it's not human edible, but it's plant edible. And it's kind of like, so it's like a plant going vegan, sort of, but it offers all kinds of benefits. So we go into the whole, so we have the root version, we have a foliar version, and we have an aqua version. And people always say, what's the aqua version? And I'm like, well, that's essentially for fish.
Okay.
Aquaponics, fish farming, shrimp farming. I'm just finishing the presentation for the fish, so I'm going to post it on the website. And I got to give you that link for all that stuff too.
Yeah.
But, so we have a test where we do shrimp. We have another one where we do fish. And then the aqua one is also for rice. It's the only version that we have that will benefit rice.
Okay.
Yeah. So
tell me how this works, right? Because this is something that comes up a lot, and more I see the industry moving to a organic solution compared to any of the other heavy fertilizers, right? So tell me I don't understand the fertilizer piece, or I don't understand how it works compared to any of these others.
Let me ask you a question there, because you said you don't understand the fertilizer piece. Let's just elaborate on let's know where you stand with it. You are aware that it's what farmers use to grow anything, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So you have basic.
And I understand the chemical side of the nutrients and what they're adding and what they're supposed to do, like the nitrogen, for example, or any of these others, right? But correct. What I'm not understanding then is switching back. I have a chemistry background and a pharmaceutical background. So I understand. I was in pharmacy school. So I understand that piece of it. What I don't understand is, how does the algae or the natural products work? Does it bind to the root? Yeah, I'm curious. What is it actually doing? And I hear too this compared to, say, biochar, right? Is this something that can be used simultaneously, or is it something in substitute of a biochar and other nutrients?
I appreciate those questions, actually. And you've made one of the best questions in the industry. No wonder you're on top. All right. So here's how it goes. Let me break it down to you in a more chemical, because you're obviously brilliant. So it's a molecule. The bioplastic in its own concept is a single molecule. Okay. And we have it into 3 different charges: positive, neutral, and negative. That's how we make it. Aqua, roots, and foliar. Each one has its own capacity in its charges.
Its own charge, right? I totally understand that charge now.
Now, if somebody watching this video says, Erik, what are you talking about? Okay, it's either a positive charged molecule, it's either a neutral, non-charged molecule, or it's either negative. I'm not going to go into it. What happens is that this product has a covalent bond. We found a way to essentially copy what a oyster does to make a pearl.
Okay.
Okay. Now, instead of you making chemical pearls like they usually do and doing all that shenanigans, you obviously know a chemical fake pearl, it feels like plastic.
Mm-hmm.
We essentially discovered the methodology that nature and God intended for an oyster to take its sand. And in the end, a pearl is simply an oyster reacting to sand that it swallowed and just and it can't get it out. So it just makes the pearl and then it pushes the pearl out like, okay, got it. So that's what they call something called biomineralization, where essentially a biological element such as an oyster takes silica, for example, the sand, and creates a brand new biomineral. And that is what a pearl essentially is. So we took the same idea. We accidentally discovered the same idea. And what ended up happening is when we did it with algae, we found a way to basically grow algae cheaper than what other competition's doing on land for about almost, I would say between a tenth to almost 3/10 of the cost, depending on the type of operation you're running. So we're producing about 10,000 liters a week. We might scale up now to 20,000 about maybe next month. So it's like 20,000 liters. And I go by liters because it's a concept of how much of our product you're going to use as a farm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in the end, it's like, I think 4 liters to a gallon, more or less. So yeah.
How is it measured? Like when you say per farm, is it I guess probably depending on where they're applying it, if they're putting it on foliage versus the ground, in the soil, how much is typically used, say, for an acre of, let's say, CBD compared to fiber? Does that determine the amount used because of the number of seeds planted in plants that are actually per acre, I would assume?
So we've narrowed it down because of the fact that we're using across so many vegetables, fruits, and elements in the farming. In order not to stretch our team too thin against every single vegetable, fruit, and concept, we've come up with a lot of our in-house pests resulted in about a 1 milliliter to 2 milliliter average per liter, which up to gallons is about 0.27 ounces a gallon. So it depends.
That's not very much.
No, because that segues into the fact that we sell more as an additive. And going back to fertilizers, what we do is we want to go into so what happens is the molecule, as we said, with the charges, what happens is if you have a product that goes, let's say for roots earlier, like you said, does it bind to the roots? Yes. It binds to the roots, but it doesn't choke the root. What it does is the root cells will eat it. But what happens is as the plant eats more and more of it, it begins to connect the same mechanisms that the plant uses to talk between the roots, the stem, and the leaves. Whereas before it was like, it would take hours. Now, let's say a day or two, we can accelerate the communication between root, stem, and leaf within hours. And I prove it because segueing into like what happened with the hemp market kind of denying me the opportunity to test on some of their acres because again, snake oil warnings and no USDA scientist testing, and the only testing we really have in depth is from Brazil. So what happens is I came across cannabis growers, and at first they were recreational. I said, no, I can't touch that. I have nothing. But one guy said, okay, I'll test it with hemp. I said, okay, perfect. So we signed up on the hemp. He took a product. He came back. He said, hey, the hemp died. And I was like,
oh, shit.
I literally said, what did you do to hemp and how much did you use? I sent you like 2/3 of a gallon. And he goes, no, it wasn't you. It was my dog who chewed it. And I said, oh my God.
That's not the same.
And he has a big dog. It's a big dog with the head the size of a human head. I mean, he's a big dog. And I said, okay, well, clearly he was chewing on the hemp like a toothpick, I guess. And I said, did it even grow? He goes, well, here's the thing. It grew really quick because hemp, cannabis, they're quick growers. He goes, honestly, between the control, it grew pretty quick. I liked it. He goes, and I'm sorry, I kind of just did only one plant and chewed it. And now I have like only all my other cannabis plants. And I was like, This is not leaving the room, I told him. This is
right.
So last week I finally told the team, listen, this is what happened. We lost the hemp. The dog ate it. And they were like, since when do you use a dog ate your homework? That's a high school joke. And I'm like, Doc, I'm sorry. What do you want me to tell you? That's what he told me. He goes, oh, so his dog just magically chew on it like a toothpick. I get it. So that happened.
Yes.
He comes to me and he goes, so what did he do? So I go, he has a license to grow medical marijuana in the state of Michigan. And he's got patients. He's got this whole thing going on. You should have seen, he's an older man in his 60s. His eyes went like this. Ooh, like, no! Because he doesn't really agree with the idea yet. He thinks it's too naive. He thinks it needs to be FDA. He doesn't care about people's lives. He just feels that people are using the medical cannabis as a recreational outlet. And he disagrees with it. He agrees with the medical, and he agrees that if you're a cancer patient, you deserve whatever you want to feel your best, to be your best to recover. We agree with that. So I said, look, just let me finish it. It's done. I mean, he's growing it. Come on, doc. He goes, finish the test and then we'll talk about this. And then he said, fine, just go ahead with medical marijuana. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, let's green light this. Send me all the data you have. He literally said, good, because I didn't want to share this with you. I didn't want to give you a cake knowing you can't eat it. So I said, what did you do? He goes, no, it's not what I did. It's what you did. So he shows me a video, Mandi, and I could share it with you myself if you like after this call. He is literally showing me in Michigan on Memorial Day weekend 2021, Friday of that weekend, where the vacation started, a cold front entered Michigan. He claims it went from 80-degree weather to 30-degree weather. And a frost warning was in effect all weekend long. Mm-hmm. He flipped. He goes, I just put my medical plants outside a week ago. I'm going to leave everything. So I look at him. So he calls me and I said, get the foliar spray and get 2 milliliters. Sorry. Take a look at the video. So he tells me and I go, look, okay, spray 2 milliliters, which is, it's an average dose, but it's a medium, it's an average high dose. When you're kind of concerned about something coming, you do the 2 milliliters. If you feel that something's going on that's bad, you go to 3 to 4. And if it's really bad, we tell you go 5 and 6, but one time. Like that.
Now you say when really bad, what do you mean? Like if I have a plant that's dying or that isn't surviving or nutrients look weak, right? Then I want to use more of it to kind of bring it back. I need this. I can't keep my plants alive, so I need this.
So let me go in. Okay, let me wrap up that one, and then I'm going to go into that segment because there was an experiment that he did with the same problem.
Okay.
The frost resulted in the 2 milliliter application night and morning. I said, give it at night so they survive the cold. Give it in the morning so they recover with sunlight. Foliar only. And if you're going to root drench accordingly. But only put your fertilizer at the root base. And he goes, no, I use a foliar fertilizer. And I said, then foliar in the morning, foliar feed in the morning, but just spray mine at night alone. So he got into it and he did that. He followed it Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, to Monday morning of Memorial Day, and I believe till Monday night. I believe that's how long the frost or weather was off. Like it was cold at night, warm in the day. Mm-hmm. So what ended up happening was he shows me a video on Saturday morning where he literally says, Eric, take a look at the garden. I'm glad that I can finally show you this. So he shows me a cannabis plant, marijuana, cousin of the hemp, whatever. And the leaves were wet with dew. And I said, okay, there's water on the leaves. Whoop-de-doo. Now look at the ground. And he shows me the ground. There was ice on the ground. Mandi, there was ice, like Elsa.
The plant kept its circulation or moving everything around, so it kept it from freezing. No way.
All of the mechanisms that prevent freezing in a plant were activated. We have no idea how. He said, I've been growing for several years now. I think he's been growing underground. And
I have goosebumps.
Yeah. And so he tells me, Eric, I've been doing this for almost 2 decades. I've never seen a product ever do this. And organically but not organically, but like naturally derived, like not chemical. Mm-hmm. And like he's like, Only salt is known to do this. And your product has no salt, and it made the leaves, and the leaves were curled at the stem part. They were curled from the cold, but the outer tips were open. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as the sunlight came out, they just went right open, like sunlight. They stayed open all day, collecting that sunlight, collecting that heat. He said, I didn't even have to feed them. They just automatically went into maximum photosynthesis. The night came, they curled up again for the, like already feeling the cold, they went, but no frost ever came under those plants. Not one. The only plant that died from frost was a tomato plant that he forgot to spray that was over his garden.
Interesting.
Yeah, same video.
So, can this be sprayed in big volume? And I think about this, I'm in Utah, right? Wyoming is getting ready to pick up. And I keep looking at, what really is their growth season and are they able to compete? Is it something that we could then go in, say at the end of season and potentially save a large crop?
Yes. And here's how we would do that. Here's how we do that. So the two main products that we work with in that scenario would be the root and the foliar. Okay. And don't forget to remind me to go back to a segment that you said about the dead plant. So I'll tell you then, hold on. So we would go in with the main product for the roots, which we call it like a root drench, the gallon of the root basic, because the plant is much more stronger. And I have this documented with peppers in my house here. When I use the root polymer and I put it on the roots, the plants come to life in less than a day. And they grow larger leaves. They grow. They really are empowered to become beautiful green. Versus the foliar spray, they survive. So it's funny. So what we do is if you're going through a situation where the weather's bad, you'll always use the root product, always, as part of your regimen for feeding and maintenance. What's going to happen is if a plague like locust from Kenya, for example, that happens show up, or weather array, like let's say these massive frost or heat waves kick in, you go to the foliar product and you apply it before the situation happens or the moment you hear about it or the moment, you put it into a segment. And then you usually, and again, both products are always on a 1.5 to 2 milliliter basis on everything across the board. That's how I've been testing it. That's how I've been doing it. Now, what I will say for a farmer is to be careful when using fertilizers and pesticides with the higher doses, because what happens is you need to, what they call dial it in. You need to reduce your fertilizer use to almost 50%, because what happens is our molecule reacts with your fertilizer or pesticide and we ionize it and we make it bioavailable for the plant. The plant will, in a regular additive, regular industrial.
So it actually increases the strength of the consumption, the absorption, and therefore you could probably burn it if you have too much, say, nitrogen or too much fertilizer when you're using an additive like yours?
So, yes.
Okay.
On the fertilizer. On the pesticide, we make it more reactive on the skin of the plant. Our product is we don't even call our product a pesticide on its own. You could use it alone. What happens is when the insect eats our product alone, it eats plastic. But you and I can take any of these fruits or vegetables that's sprayed upon, if you just
eat it,
and it won't really hurt you at all, because your body will digest the fruit and it'll digest it. You'll feel the texture. You'll be like, ooh, I can taste that bioplastic on it. But then you're going to say, wait a second. Now I taste the fruit. Now I taste the vegetable. Now I feel the green. And then the flavor of whatever you're eating will overpower it. Your tongue will immediately taste the flavor and forget about the plastic. And that's it.
I can't imagine that it's much. I mean, especially compared, like I had grapes the other day and I was eating them at the store and I had to stop because whatever sprayed on them, it was so thick at the time, right? So I can't imagine this is worse than what's already out there at all.
No, it won't. And honestly, if you took your finger, if I took my finger in it, dipped it in and put it in my mouth, the only thing it's really going to give me is a bad time in the bathroom. But even then, that'll just pass by and you could kill it with a cup of Bismol. And it's not toxic. It's not poisonous. It's super biocompatible. I mean, I don't even want to say it's child safe, but I just want to say it's safer than what they're putting on the field and exposing the staff and farmers to chemicals. Now, to the concept of, back to the concept of the farming. So you'll put it on the plants, you'll test it out on all your chemicals, and you're going to reduce it. Now, it takes you to fertilizer. The guy that was testing it for me accidentally this first time, he accidentally put his full regular dosage of fertilizer and my product, and he overnight burned them. But about all 30 plants. But what happened was, when that happened, he called me and I said, don't put any fertilizer, skip a fertilizer feed, skip 1 or 2, and just give it water, just water. And he did the water only for like about 1 or 2 days, I think. And the plants went from the yellow fertilizer burn to a green, lush green. He brought it back. He goes, okay, cool. Now I said, now cut it to 50% and lower it. He goes, okay, fine. So he then went to a plant, and we call it the pineapple Larry. But essentially it's just a pineapple, what's it called?
The plant that he was using?
The strain of marijuana is called the Pineapple Express or something like that. It's one of the ones, right?
That's popular. Mm-hmm.
Popular, right? But he calls it pineapple. It's one of his special breeds, but it's a pineapple. And so he had it. I have the video where he shows it's dead. It's yellow and brown, like as brown as my skin. I mean, the damn thing was dying. So he was like, "Bro, I'm done with this." And I said, "Hey, how much can you sacrifice some of the polymer and just see what happens? I want to really see what happens." He goes, "Hey, you know what? Me too." So he takes the 6 milliliter approach. Take the 6 to 10 milliliter. I was like, "Bro, how many liters?" I don't know. It was 6 to 10, bro. I didn't even know the count. I just went with the syringe, put it in the water, and maximized that sucker. I said, "All right." So he drenched it with the roots. And then he just said, "All right, bye, Larry." And he walked away and ignored it for like 24 to 48 hours.
Thinking it was going to die, thinking he was done.
He did it. He just did that for me. He's like, "I'm just doing it for you, man, because you gave me free product and I see your stuff is working. I like it." So he comes back. He comes back like, I think 24 hours later. He looks at it, he goes, "Let's see what that dead thing does anyway." He fell back. The plant went from, and I have the video of it. In the video, he's looking, "Erik, look here. This was yellow. Now it's green. Erik, this was brown. Now it's yellow.
Yeah.
This was black brown. It's dead." Yeah. He's like, "You can't break." He's like, yours is not Lazarus juice, but it's
working.
It's a hell of a steroid for a dying plant. Like when a patient is dying and you give them like the last Hail Mary shot of something, adrenaline, something like this thing brought it back. It was, but then since he overdosed it, the plant was flopping from overwatering. So it was like all bent over, and he was like lifting it like it's dead, like my hand like that. It was just dead. He goes, "Whatever, I don't care." But he planted it outside anyway. And then like 3 weeks ago, I go, "Hey, what ended up happening to that Larry pineapple thing?" He goes, "Oh, I forgot." So he went out. I had been spraying it, but I'd been ignoring it. You know, when I'm just passing by and spraying everything that's in the trellis because he has them on food, I just kept spraying the sucker. He came back and he goes, "Erik, there are still burns from the dead leaves. They're still there. The markings are there. The plant recovered. The plant is green. But there's 2 problems that I was impressed with. It has stunted growth, obviously from that situation.
Sure.
But it has no more brown and no more yellow. But it does have 3 branches that are scarred. What happened was our polymer essentially activated its mechanism and it isolated the damaged parts. But the plant realized, if I cut these branches off, it's going to cost me more energy than just leaving a dead limb there. So it just leaves the limb there, but it focuses on all the other limbs that are growing to the sky. So awesome. He was like, "Bro, this is insane." So that happened with the frost, that happened with the Larry and the fertilizer burn. And he doesn't use pesticides, but he found out that with my product, he says, yes, the insects came. All the insects came. They bit my lettuce. They tried to bite my strawberries. They tried to bite my tomatoes. They all bit about a couple leaves, and then all the insects just disappeared. They just disappeared. Like as if they ate my stuff and they thought it was nasty and they walked away. And you know where they went? They went to his flower garden that he hadn't been treating, and they started eating his flowers. Ate it up. The grasshoppers, the caterpillars, everything was eating up the flowers because they couldn't eat his vegetables. They couldn't eat his marijuana. They couldn't eat his cannabis. They couldn't eat his hemp. They couldn't eat anything. they couldn't eat what he was spraying with this stuff. So what ended up happening, and he swears he doesn't use pesticides. He's just using this product. So he was kind of joking, saying, you know how an animal lover will never like kill a fly? Well, this is it. Like this thing will help them never kill a fly. So we went on to experiment with other stuff. And then what happened was the heat wave came in. After the frost came the hot. I was like, bro, this is like, you know, what's this show? Dungeons and Dragons. The one about the dragons with Game of Thrones, where it's like the book of fire, the book of ice. Like first came the ice, then came the fire. And then it's like 2 days at 105-degree weather, and he shows me like the video, and it's like, everything looks like it's red, like almost like a red. And I'm like, bro, this guy must be doing effect. He goes, no, the sun is on fire today. And I was like, damn. And then he's like, it's 105 degrees, and like most of the plants are supposed to be wilting. And you can see that most of the regular plants, they are wilting. But he's watering everything because he doesn't want his place to die. But he grabs my fold, but then he has a 25-gallon sprayer. So he sprays everything around everywhere with water freely. But he goes with my foliar spray on the marijuana and his fruit and vegetable garden. Not one of them whips it. Everything naturally that was just regular water had the effect of wilting and was suffering from heat. Everything I gave it had no sunburn, which is common with the ultraviolet. Nothing, everything that got the foliar spray resisted the heat, the sun, the insects, all that jazz, and the temperature changes. It phased it. It was like, what? The plant was like, what? It's cold? What is that? And it was growing, and it just kept his lettuce. He told me his lettuce with the cold in the 30-degree weather kept growing.
Awesome.
He documented growth of lettuce in the cold, which is unheard of.
Awesome. Yeah.
These silly little things keep happening to me. And so finally he just said, I'm going to push this to the limit. And I said, stop playing God. And he goes, you gave me the God particle. I'm playing with this. So he kept drenching a specific plant that he's doing for a reason, for like something. And one day he sent me a video, Eric, look how he showed me the stem of the plant is black. He's showing up the video, it's black, dark, like, you know, wood bark. And then it's all green, virgin green, and it keeps going virgin, and it's about a foot high of virgin green. And he goes, Eric, I swear to God, this is Friday night that I sprayed this stuff. It's Saturday morning, overnight. This thing grew about 12 inches. And I said, no, you're lying. He goes, Eric, look at my video. Why aren't you looking at my video? I'm like, I'm doing so much else on my website. He goes, stop your website and look at my video. So I look at it and it's there. He's pulling the plant. The plant is going so fast, the leaves are falling to the side and dragging it down. The plant is struggling to harden its stem to hold its leaves up. And I said, oh my God. And he's like, dude, I don't know. I'm giving this thing I'm giving it my foliar. I'm giving it all my water. I'm giving it like he's tailored this specific plant, but he's also saying like, I'm drenching it with your stuff, and your stuff is making my stuff grow faster than I can handle it. And he's just like, bro, I kid you not. And he shows me another plant. Eric, look, 3 feet in a month. I was like, what do you mean 3 feet? 3 feet in a month? In 30 days. Eric, I'm growing about a foot. Awesome. And I'm not really giving it to this one. I'm giving it to that. And I said, okay. I said, just keep documenting for me until I figure out how to process this. Right. Because how am I going to peddle the snake oil? We're going back to snake oil. How am I going to peddle the snake oil? And I actually had a conversation with a commercial grower from California, and he said, yo, so what are you pushing? And I said, oh, you know, this and this and this. And I go, are you testing it on cannabis? And I told him about the Michigan guy, and I told him, he's showing me about a foot growth a week or like a day. And he goes, now you lost me. He goes, now you lost me. That's BS. I go, can I show you the video? I'm not impressed by length, he says, because I could just put ammonia in my cannabis and it'll do the same thing. And I stopped and said, and I literally asked him and said, so you're okay with putting Windex in your cannabis plant even though you're going to smoke it? And he stayed quiet. He never answered me back. He never replied. He never answered me back because he realized, wait, you're right. That is a Windex. I'm like, my product is not Windex. I'm telling you what it is. And he's kind of like,
right.
It was one of those things where we both realized this is going to be an argument of whose product is better, blah, blah, blah. So I said, when I load the video, when I have a more reputable grower, I guess we'll talk. And going back to the concept of who's testing my stuff, you know, it's really people that are on the fringe. It's those innovative farmers. It's those farmers that are willing to test, that are willing to trust a stranger and just allow a little plant and push things to the limit and take their production to the next level. I mean, I'm already USDA bio certified. I have the USDA label to say I'm 68% ounce and 32% carbon. I have the test. It's USDA safe in that sense. It's not chemical because a bio-certified product is not chemical. I mean, yes, I'm not Omri certified because I don't have that magical organic label that's on every product in the market. Not yet. But I haven't done it because it's a label. I have a lab test. I have it on the website. I mean, it's my honesty. I have the certification from the USDA. What else must I give you at this point for you to trust me that this is a bio-certified product? I mean, I would even go as far as challenging to say that bio-certified products may be the next generation of Omni and organic, because a lot of things are labeled organic, but they are, either coming from a chemical source or they're coming from a harmful source, or they're taking from an environment and just rewording it in a different way, or they're just remarketing. I mean, that's why a lot of people in the organic space would kind of feel like there's a lot of organic washing. I mean, there used to be, you must have heard years ago when they were importing organic things from south of the border, and they were saying, the farmers here in the U.S. were saying, no, they're not being really organic. And I've heard it from, being Peruvian, I heard it from Peruvian farmers. They started planting, let's say, potato or corn, and there was a company that was actually, I forgot what it was called, but it was exposed and I heard it from someone else on the inside, that they were pumping non-organic products on the first week on all the seeds, and then doing nothing but water for a few months. And then they would put organic products towards the end, because by that time it was out of the system of the plant. There was no trace of it. And so when I come back to them, like, okay, how organic is your food? How organic is everything? So then it comes down to trust. And you and I both understand that in farming, trust is everything. So it's like, I can certify I make the stuff in the tanks. I'll tell you that we're using a patented natural enzyme that processes the algae into a product. We remove the enzyme and everything unwanted in our titration system, and we're only giving you the algae in a molecule. And we're going to give you the results. We proved it. Our product is best used as an additive. If you're all you have to do is take the product, throw the millimeters into the water, into the liters or the ounces into your gallons, and then you're just doing your regular business as usual, but you're only going to cut back on your expenses of fertilizer and pesticide and less headaches, because your plants are going to react.
Now, go ahead. And then I've got a question.
No, ask the question, because I was going to segue into the science experiment, but go ahead.
Tell me about yourself. I was actually wondering, like, who the ideal prospect is. Are you looking right now while you're in this R&D to meet small scale farmers, or are you really looking to pick up somebody that's willing to put it on large acreage right now? Who fits in that box of the perfect person right now to connect with or business?
Thanks for asking. If I found someone with multiple acreage, I would be more than happy to give them a large, substantial amount to do a test.
Sure.
An acreage test would be phenomenal. I would love to set up a protocol with them and showcase to them how that would work, as long as, a video would come back. I'm finding that small growers are more receptive to my stuff. I'm getting interest from Oklahoma. I've got a guy in Washington that's also been testing it on one plant. And he also came back saying, he shows me a picture of his plant growing inches overnight. And he goes, Erik, this is getting out of hand. It's overgrowing, and I can't keep it in the trellis anymore. And I'm really excited to see what the Michigan and Washington growers tell me for the flowers, because in cannabis, it's all about the bud. It's all about the flowers. And
fiber. I'm curious what it would do to fiber production. I want to see it. I want to see it on the, the herd or the trunk of that of the car of the stalk of the plant, right? And I want to know, what does it do as far as size, or what does it do for the structural integrity of the plant for both fiber and the construction materials? I'd be interested in that.
If you ask me right now, I would bet it does not affect anything of the molecular structure or anything of the integrity of your herd or plant or your fiber, except
just make it bigger.
It's just it's gonna grow your plant faster, and it's gonna grow your plant stronger, and it's going to grow balanced, and it's gonna grow more balanced. So your plant's gonna grow within an easier cycle. Let's say for a 45-day growth cycle, I would bet it would grow in 40 days. It'd be ready for harvest in 40 days. And then it would also grow with half or less fertilizer and pesticide. So as a farmer, you always want to control your costs and, have your involvement at the minimum. We're looking at the spec of, we always tell them to start with 50% and dial it down to almost 10%. Okay. So almost to a 90% reduction using fertilizer and pesticide, which you think about the numbers, it adds up. Mm-hmm. While still producing the same or maybe even more if you choose to use our product on its own. I actually had someone ask me about spider mites. And when I spoke with the scientists, we agreed that the best way to approach spider mites, in cannabis or in anything of the pestilence like that, it would be take our product, start with 50% of whatever product you use to deal with the spider mites, and dial it down 10% every application down to 10%. And then keep it at 10%. As long as you see progress, keep going down until 10%. Keep it there until you stop seeing the insect, and then just take out the product you're using and just use ours alone. And eventually the plant will determine our product as the other product, and you're simply going to be using milliliters instead of gallons of another product. Because now the stimulation of the plant is effectively there, as long as the nutrients are effective. As long as nutrients are there, the defense mechanism of the plant, we'll train the plant to fight that pestilence, whatever it is. Wow. That's what we can achieve. Now,
I'm interested in the bug, the pest control, because this is something that's it's funny when I hear people say, well, cannabis, you don't need pest control. Bugs don't need it. Absolutely they do. And every show that I've been to, they talk about, as soon as that flower comes, so do all the bugs, and so how do we protect that? And I think this is something, I actually sent a couple of intros just now to two farmers. One's a large organic farmer for fruits and vegetables, and one is a large scale hemp farmer. That I'd love to connect you with. So I just sent both of those email intros out. But yeah, I'm fascinated about this. Just Franny is actually the one I was just talking to or just messaged, because her and I talk about the pests and the bugs all the time.
Really? How peculiar, because I'm also hearing from people saying, oh, animals, pest control is easy with the cannabis and the hemp. And the guy in Michigan told me something that, I've never really told anyone. He told me, like, I've been growing this plant for so long. That is, bugs are the number one problem he goes, and it's the worst thing. It's because it's like a race. You're at the finish line and you're winning.
Yes.
Winning. And then the bug comes running right behind you and starts passing you. And you're like, What are you doing? And he goes, I'm going to get to the flower first. Mm-hmm. And then you wake up one day and all your flowers are eaten alive. Mm-hmm. And he goes,
that's what they said too. It's like overnight. It literally is like the bugs come in, and once one is there, it's really hard to manage. And so that's funny.
I will bet, I'm willing to send product to anyone that's willing to test it. And at this point, because I would bet that if the bug shows up and the moment they smell my plant, my product on a flower, they're going to be like, they're going to eat it. And they're going to be like, dude, this is plastic. This is useless. And they're going to leave. They're going to train themselves to say that hemp plant is plastic. Forget it. They're going to walk away. and they're going to go to a flower patch because they're hungry, and our product blocks their digestion. So they will chew it. Alone, they will chew it. They're going to say, okay.
They won't just keep coming back. They're
going to realize this is, God, there's an item that they teach us, I don't know, here in America, that you eat. I forgot what it was. They tell you eat, but it has no nutritional value. It's not lettuce, because I know lettuce is like 80% water. And, most of us are kind of like, oh yeah, lettuce is just a filler. It's not really nutritional, but it does. It does have some nutrition. But there's like these plants that are edible, but you don't eat them because they're useless. They just go through your system for whatever. It's not like celery. Celery, for example, also has vitamins, but it goes through your system. It just flushes out. So it's like the same thing with the insect. It's going to be like, it's going to walk away. I'm betting, and I'm waiting for my Michigan grower to have flowers. He's expecting it now, July, August. He's expecting it. He's going to do it. I told him maybe you shouldn't do the foliar one for your flowers because you're going to smoke it. And he was like, well, I'm going to wash them. And I said, well, then you could. But then I also said, if you give it a 48 hours, the plant should assimilate it and eat it all eventually. And you don't really have to worry about it. But if you're going to wash it, that helps too. You're going to, he washes his bud. And I said, but give it,
could you imagine?
I know. I thought it was funny. And I said, but just do me a favor. At least if you choose, can you just sacrifice one flower with my product, like cover the rest and spray it and see what happens? And give me pictures of that. He goes, I could do that at the very least. But he goes, but I think if the insects show up, I'm going to go crazy and spray everything. So I think, and flowers are just nature's natural magnets to bugs. And if you're going to spray my product on it, what's going to end up happening is you're either going to inhibit the smell of the flower, the insect, or the insect is going to chew that flower first and say, okay, no, bye, I don't like this, and walk away. And once an insect walks away, it walks away. Like crickets, for example, once they start chewing on something and they leave, they start making their noises elsewhere. And then they attract the females there. And then the whole colony moves in that direction because crickets aren't on your field. They're on the side grass. They're on nature's natural spots. It's funny that you mentioned that, and I think so. Now, here's something. Let's segue into my little science experiment. Because I know we could clearly go into a 3-hour conversation, and I know you've got something else coming up. So, in here is about 20% of my foliar spray and 80% water. I bought this little thing on Wish. It's actually a hairdresser's.
They're the best sprayers, though.
That's the only reason why I bought it. But I bought it on Wish for $8, so I can't complain. Now, this is like a baby. This is for like baby syringes.
Yeah.
It has all the milliliters on it. That's how I regulate it. It's a tedious job, but it works. So let me put this all here. I have. You know what this is, right? It's a typical toilet paper roll. I was going to bring a bamboo roll downstairs, but when I did the test with bamboo, the bamboo roll took forever to burn, and I need something quick to burn. So here is my
torch.
Yep. Now,
I'm actually really excited for this.
Should I send you my address so you can call the police in case I burn it out? I don't know. Maybe we should, right? You're like, Eric, plan B. Oh, you started a fire. Plan B. Let me move the coffee cup. It's there. No room for failure with fire. Kids, you not do this at home. And farmers, do this far away from your house in the field and somewhere safe.
Farmers are like, hey, we got this. Like, we do this all the time.
Now, this is a natural toilet paper roll. It's the quickest cardboard I could find. I know it's not. I had a pack of Hempblock and I misplaced it, and the person who gave it to me is going to tell me, but I promised her I'll do a video and I'll give it to you too, so I could upload it. But all right, ready? Let's go. I should have put water in this thing now that I think about it. So I'm going to open the gas line. Can you hear the torch?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. Let's not take too long with fire. Give me a second. Tone down the light. Okay. And the backlight's there. I'm just not.
Perfect.
I can't put too much in the dark. Let me get rid of this. So here's the product on my right, and here's the fire on my left. Reopening. God, it smells like gas.
Yep.
GAS, by the way. Woo! Now watch that. I can't even put my hand any closer. You see that? All that heat. Look at the cardboard.
Yeah. It's going to catch fire.
You see the fire?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Oh, God, the smoke detector. I better do this quick. All right, so now I got it. My wife's going to kill me when she sees what I did with the mixing bowl. She's like, why does this cake taste like ash? And I'm going to say, honey, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, my God. I am going to clean this when I get done. No, you know what? It's not even worth it. It really wants to catch fire. Hold on. I'm going to spray some of my product on it to neutralize the fire. Okay. Since I started spraying on this side, the cat ran away. The cat ran away for her life. I love it. All right. So, damn, I should have shown you so it could have been like real so people would trust me. Okay. Here we go. Now I'm going to spray it all on this side. Watch. I am spraying. I'm kind of drenching it because I want to emphasize heaviness, but in a farm, what we would do is we would advise an electrostatic hose with this product to make it more efficient for the farm. Now watch this. So now, as you can see, I've watered it. Now, I want to get this as close as I can without burning my laptop. No, now she came back to me. What is that smell? Running the gas. Fire here.
Mm-hmm.
Same spot.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't even catch at all.
No. Now I'm moving it so you can see it more effectively, but if I leave it on the same spot, after a while, in about 10 seconds in total, you start seeing
the light. I can see a little bit, yeah.
Everything must burn. Fire is universal. Nothing can resist it. But look how I'm touching the flame directly.
Yeah. I can see it drying it out, but it's not lighting it on fire, right? It's just leaving it.
That's exactly what I wanted you to see.
Yeah. Oh, and you can see it caught the bottom even.
Yeah.
Like it started to burn where it was not.
Yep. Now, awesome. I could go on for hours with this. And the concept that I want to get to you on this subject is essentially we're holding the water content in a paper product. This thing is perfect for lighting a fire at a house or anything. We essentially turned it into a non-flammable material. And that's just with water. If we wanted to take it to the next generation for a building, for a farmer's barn, for wine yards and their vineyards and not their plants specifically, but their trellises or their housing facilities, all they need is an elastic polymer, 50%, I believe it was elastic polymer, basic paint polymer. And we could just mix the rest of it, 20% like I did with this with water, all that in one mix. And then voila. They could spray it on themselves like almost a paint. And we could essentially protect against fire up to, this product only boils off at about 1900 degrees Fahrenheit on average. Oh. But we always like to say 1000 degrees Fahrenheit for legal purposes. But I will say that 1600 degrees makes sense. I need to actually buy a thermometer that is not touchable to test the fire, to test the temperature. But it's a welding torch.
Right.
It's not going to be less than a few hundred degrees Fahrenheit.
Right. And
the fires in California, Colorado, Utah, Oregon, across the West, think about it. The reason, they're very powerful fires, but they have one thing. They're like what I call a blaze. So they will go and they will, the fire will consume everything, but it'll move quickly. All we need to do is delay the fuel source long enough for the fire to pass it and keep going. That way, whatever you spray does not catch fire. Your cornfield, your vineyards, your hemp fields.
Right.
So,
well, imagine this last year, when all the fires ran through, I can't tell you the number of people that lost their crops or their full facilities or equipment. And
let me take you to another level. And you must have heard this too. What about the cannabis growers that had no insurance because it's an illegal crop? And it was a $2 million harvest that they lost. But all they needed was $2,000 or $4,000 or $10,000 worth of my product.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And all they had to do was wait for the fire to show up and say, it's a fire. And then they just follow my protocols and spray and create a virtual fence around their crops and then work their way spiral in until they run out of product. And all they need is really about 5 meters long before the flame can no longer catch it.
Right. It and basically sucking the oxygen out of it or deflecting it, it seems like.
I would stay with the fact of cutting off the fuel source, because we do have proof where we can put this product in gasoline while it's burning and it kills the fire. And then we can go back and take our product out of the gasoline and use recovered your gasoline and can burn it again.
That's awesome. So how'd you get into this? How did you stumble into this, and where did you come from in, what's your background coming into
my
this?
background generally is business marketing.
Okay.
I got out of college with that, went straight into solar for a few years. Never really kicked off even beyond a $40,000 salary or $40,000. I skimmed with that career for a few years, but I kept hitting a wall and I wouldn't see it. Yeah. And then about a year before the pandemic started, I came across this product. I got with the scientists and I just said, okay, let me just play around with it in my garden, see what happens. Yeah. And then they needed more testing, so I helped them out with my backyard. It worked out great, but they were dragging their feet with it a little bit. And so I said, okay, whatever. And then the pandemic hit. And then when not even the pandemic, before the pandemic, I was already looking at opportunities and methodologies and, thinking about a game plan for 2 years where we were going to take this bootstrapped up through regular agriculture and regular organic stuff. But the pandemic hit March last year. And then everything, including everything, international deals, everything just collapsed. Like overnight. We were, the company was left with only 2 active contracts, and those were just left there because we said we have to come. It's more expensive to not come through with it so we said, all right, here you go. Here's the contract. We're fulfilling the order. We'll talk again after this pandemic blows over. And then I looked at this product and I said, hey, can I get some of that? And I said, okay, give me a couple gallons. And they go, okay. And then he goes, what are you gonna do with it? I'm like,
I'll let
I said,
it out.
I kind of said, okay, let me call a few farmers. And then I called a few farmers. They liked a few people that trusted me, and they said, you know what, you got good stuff, but good luck. It's an uphill battle. And I said, I know. And then they said, stay away from wheat, soy, and corn. I said, what? And I go, if you're going to save the world through a product that's going to improve agriculture, but change the way it's done.
Those are the 3 that need the most help.
But you don't tread there because
I agree.
The big boys are there.
Mm-hmm.
And then
and nobody wants, it's like trying to teach an old dog new tricks, right? 100%. It's been the hardest needle to move for us in making change to old agricultural processes or practices.
100%. So you just said it. I needed to find new agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Hemp was already national, and Idaho was the only state missing by the time I was working hard on it. And I said, one day Idaho's going to fall and give in to the hemp movement some way, somehow. And now it's 50 state legal. It's Canada legal. It's going to be, it's about to become Mexico legal. I mean, North America is about to become a huge boom market. I just had a phone call today with someone from Thailand that's trying to grow it. I've seen in the group, you have people from India. Mm-hmm. So long story short, the hemp market was there, but then it was, like you said, old dog new tricks. A lot of old school farmers, farmers that are stuck in the ways, farmers that only get advice from specific agronomists that won't give me a time of day. I said, okay, man, what do I do? So then medical cannabis was the next best step. I got this guy that tricked me into medical cannabis, and his reception, other people's reception was amazing. So then that's where I'm at, because I figured, this will be the best bet for me, because I will see this as my way into improving my product and demonstrating that I can increase plant growth, plant yield, plant production, less pest, healthier plants, stronger plants, and less fertilizer and pesticide. Which, if you think about it, for agriculture, cutting back on nitrogen use and nitrogen runoff, the best way to do it is to use less. But how do you get more with less? You use me. You use my product. And now you can protect the Mississippi Delta, you can protect the Florida mangroves, you can protect you can protect more of nature, and you get to effectively, efficiently use your product, which you paid for as a farmer. And you get to essentially target the plant and make sure that the plant, like a nano scale delivery vehicle, which is what we're offering you. Instead of using microbes, which could hit or miss. And my stuff with microbes, by the way, works really good too. Bacteria like to eat my stuff, and they keep growing and multiplying when they use my stuff. So, my product has a lot of segue, but it has an uphill battle to say, I'm a new product and I'm a disruptive product. And anything that disrupts the status quo is going to take forever in the sense of understanding. But once it's a snowball effect. And like I said earlier, I'm on the fringe. And when I'm on the fringe, academia don't give you a time of day. Scientists kind of are weary of you. And traditionally, populist farmers are going to say, bro, what the hell are you peddling, man? Like, seriously? And it's like, So it's a vicious cycle where those three, the scientist, the agronomist, and the farmer, talk to each other about it and debate, is he true? Is he honest? Is this real? Is this a possibility? Is it snake oil? And the three just feed the doubt, and the wheel of doubt continues. But the technology is right in front of you. And I always tell them all the time, can you just try one plant? One little plant, and tell me what happens. You can't even get them to do that because it's too much of their time on one plant. But
so
go ahead.
Academia is, somewhere where I want to focus as an association and building some relationships. Would it be beneficial to start talking, to some of these members that may be able to implement it into the academia side, especially where they're doing so much R&D? I've got one student, he's a PhD student at the University of Utah State University.
Nice.
He's working directly in their hemp. He's done a ton of national studies. He'd be an awesome contact for you. But he's really passionate about microbes. Like, he believes you grow microbes and microbes grow the trees. You don't grow a tree, you take care of the microbes, right? How do we feed them and take care of them? And they are who source or provide the opportunity within the cannabis industry. And so I actually just messaged him too, and I was like, I've got a contact for you. This guy's perfect. But his name is Tyler. He'll be a great connection, because I'm the same as you. I think academia is tricky, even getting into some of the universities if you're not already a big player, or a lot of times they're just stuck in their way, right? They don't want to try something new. And so maybe trying to find universities that are smaller scale, looking to find what they're good at, instead of these huge universities. Like, I've got a guy right now that's in the biofuel space, and that's what he did. He went after the small universities, underdeveloped universities, because they were eager to work in hemp and cannabis and come up with something new, where some of these others, say like Cornell, may be less apt to pick up a new product.
Ivy League will discredit you completely unless I pay them about between $4,000 to $80,000. $4,000 to $80,000. Now, you find me a scientist at any university that tells me, hey, I'll do this for free. In exchange, I get the publishing rights. I'll be like, publish whatever you want, wherever you want. Just let me read it to make sure that we're on the same page and we're not selling false information. And we will be best friends. And I'll give you half a gallon. and have fun with it. And you won't even, and he'll have that for a whole year to play and test it. Cause, a gallon would just go for acreage. And I mean, acres of testing. And I mean, like maybe 5 acres for a whole growing season.
Oh, wow.
And I'm only talking about the root polymer. If you take the foliar one at a gallon as well, same thing. 5 acres, you shouldn't even need more than that. Unless like the plague of Egypt showed up and the locusts started eating everything. But other than that, it's fine.
What's the cost? Where are you compared to cost of an organic fertilizer or any of these other fertilizers that are heavily being talked about?
Extremely good question. That is a tricky one. I will say that for a gallon of this product, I'm at about $200 on average, to about $220 right now at the small production that I am, one-on-one testing. If I can bring it up to higher scale or higher order, I'll probably drop it a little more.
Sure. Where does that compare or compete with other fertilizers? What is the cost typically per acre or what's used?
Let me tell you something I found.
Yeah.
Out of all the products out there that are biostimulants and claim that do the same thing that they can do with mine, they are trying to sell at around the same price at around, almost $150 to $200 a gallon. The thing about, but the real thing that I find that can do performance-wise and really have reputation in proven setting is enzymes or microbes. And those are going at the same price as me. There's a very popular and expensive, product line. I forgot the name. And they have an enzyme-based microbe-based enzyme where it's 2-in-1. And they're selling it for just about $250 a gallon. But that gallon isn't the full cycle. Randy, you don't even need if 0.27 ounces, let's do this, 0.27 ounces is per gallon. How many gallons does even, let's say, a hydroponic grower? A hydroponic grower would only go with 20 milliliters to 40 milliliters the most.
Per
cubic liter of water.
Okay.
Which is a lot of gallons of water. Now, most water is put through a growing cycle. And most growing cycles are about 2 cycles on average. You've got the first cycle where it's from seed to growing. And then from the late growing to flowering, you change nutrients because you need the flowers with specific nutrients to maximum yield. Mm-hmm. My product goes into both senses. Mm-hmm. We're going to say, if I was to put it in there for about, I was going to do a conversion, but it doesn't matter at this point, better not for the sake of time. But, at 0.27 ounces a gallon, and I mean, at the cubic liter, I mean, at 20 milliliters to 40 milliliters per cubic liter, you're looking at the fact that, you only need to put it per cycle. Let's say if you only need a gallon of product for every water cycle, so you spend $440, for example, for one grow. But what am I going to do? Now you're going to take your $250 enzyme and microbes, and you're going to use 20% less, 30% less, 40% less, 50% less. What happens?
Offset your costs by a lot. Yeah.
One time upfront cost of mine drops your continual cost of the other product. Mm-hmm. There's a famous product I can't.
But I mean, you even look at, say, 5 acres, $220 is nothing. I mean, it is an expense. It is an expense for farmers, right? However, I mean, you look at volume of what you're able to produce or the change, it's not an expense like some of these others. I mean, lights, electricity, water alone, the water cost. I mean, this is such a small piece that makes such a huge impact.
You saw what happened with this year.
Yeah.
It's already drying up.
Yeah.
And just for the sake of time, I can't keep burning it, but it'll dry up. But the fact that it's retaining the water.
Yeah.
And it retains itself, your water usage. What if
Totally.
Theoretically, in our in-house testing, we theorize and we believe and we would say that our product can reduce water use because we're hydrating the plant faster and more effectively at a cellular level. But we would have to actually have a university test that specific theory to have industry accepted results.
Totally.
But let's go to a state where the water stress is intense. Let's see what happens if they use less water. Will they have the same results? I'm betting they do. So
I have a question then. So we talked a lot about how the product helps the plant once it's been sick or broken or damaged. What do you suppose the redding process, or how is, once the plant's been cut down and, degradation, how does it affect the redding or the breakdown of the product from fiber and lignin? Do we know?
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What are we talking about, cutting the plant and using it as field compost, or are we talking about it going through a decorticator through the industry?
Well, right? I'm more curious, like, does it affect, I would imagine if it's in the field and being, tilled back in or left on the field, I would imagine the nutrients would only help it. However, I am curious, does it or would it affect the, decortication or the removal of fiber from the herd at all, because it's strengthening the plant's infrastructure?
I would say it will not affect your decorticator. It will not affect your equipment.
But what about the plant? Will it degrade the same speed at the same time, you think, or do you think it would extend that?
If you're asking to have to cut the plant and leave it in the field, it may possibly delay it
just a little bit, maybe.
Only because the nutrients are gonna slowly take their time.
Right.
But the plant, but here's the thing: once the plant is cut and it starts to cut, because we've done a citrus test where we took two apples. We dipped one in, again, 20%, 10% of the solution of the same spray, put it out with one that didn't. The one that didn't rotted like a normal apple. Ours that had our product did not rot for up to 30 days because we use that product. So now the fruits and vegetables that use our product can get to your shelf organically and get
cannabis. Look at cannabis. How much longer? I'm curious what it does to the terpene profile. If it preserves it longer. And I am curious about the breakdown, the degradation of the redding process, especially as like snow comes or season or rain. But I also imagine it would play a good role in, once you cut it down and bale it, I wonder if it would last longer or preserve it, or I'm curious how would it affect the moisture or the mold as it's redding or enzymes are put on.
Mold and mildew already, we know, are delayed with us. Sometimes they don't even show up. If you keep treating the product properly from the beginning of seeding them up, we've seen cases where we've dealt with coffee rust. Just adding our product had essentially helped out with the coffee rust. Okay. So if we can stop coffee rust, I'm pretty sure we can stop mold and mildew. There was a protocol that we had in place in the coffee rust segment. I didn't get that information because it was out of my scope of hemp and cannabis, but it could be brought into the fold if we would have the request specifically from a farmer saying, I've got mold mildew and it's destroying my crops. Can you get me some gallons up here? I would have to call a scientist and say, we've got mold and mildew on hemp. And he's going to have to say, okay, get me the data now and I can process something overnight. And then we would ship out the product, and then the fastest thing I could tell a farmer in that scenario is take the product and just go into a 60 to 70% of what you're using already to deal with this, and just use my product. If you have nothing on hand, then you're going to have to up the dosage to maybe 10, 20, maybe 10% of my product. And probably from both root base, so that the plant from the inside out starts fighting, and then the spray on top so we can start choking the mold and mildew and covering its oxygen intake, and strengthen the leaves that are already still healthy, so that the plant at that point can determine, okay, leaf 1 is damaged, leaf 2 is healthy. I'm going to isolate leaf 2 and then it's going to start its defense mechanism against that thing. And I found that to be very useful in some of my gardens.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to start making connections. I understand a little bit more, and now we've had so many discussions lately about the organic farming and the value to it, both on the vegetable side as well as the ag, and a lot of the passion that I've come across is how do we support these rural communities and provide viable gardens to feed some of these people, right? And here we have I didn't mean to interrupt you or didn't mean to cut you off. What did you say? I saw your lips moving, but couldn't hear you.
That's cool. Sorry. No, I didn't mean, I was saying food security. That's all.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I do want to tell you too, on this Thursday, we have the USDA, head of the USDA hemp division is going to be speaking for us on Thursday.
Wow.
So be sure you come. Both the VA and the USDA are coming to help provide protocols and programs that are available. But he's somebody you should know. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Gotta reach out to that too.
Yeah, I'll definitely help make that connection because I think if we can get in and even run some tests. Another thing that I am doing, we've set up an R&D program where I'm going to start taking grants and we can start applying grant money to different R&D projects and pull some MOUs from different universities to wrap this in. This may be something that we want to put into one of our R&D opportunities and pull some data for you.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I'm down to party with that. And you tell me show me what we can do to show me what's going to take.
I'll make sure that you're included in it and make sure that you're invited because there's lots of pieces that, that could come of it. And I feel like you fit in so many, this isn't a product that's just for cannabis or just for fruits and vegetables. Look at your fireproofing and your, resistance here.
Let me ask you a question. And I'm not going to say a name, but we both have a name and just for the sake of the camera. But, you know who I'm talking about. And I mentioned his name earlier before we got started.
Yeah.
Imagine what they could do if they started playing with hempcrete and adding my product. I will say this and I will say it, and I'm probably going to get in trouble with the scientists for saying it, but there was a test that we did with concrete and we proved that we can dry and ready concrete in less than half the time.
That's huge for hempcrete.
We have a cement. We have a cement additive, and like I said, we've got someone that's going to try it, and we're doing our lab test right now with hemp fiber that they sent us, and we are going to do a actual concrete. We're going to do several blocks of hempcrete in-house made. And we are going to prove that we can take your 4-week setting time of hempcrete from 4 weeks to maybe even 8 hours to maybe half an hour. We can do it.
That's huge.
We can do it.
That's game changing. And I think that that's been one of the biggest reservations about the success of hempcrete is because the setup time, right? Or if you say make a ready-made home to be built in Utah and you're sending all of this stuff there and somebody mixes it wrong, they're doomed, right? The setup is wrong. And so if this is something that could help on the setup and make it more sustainable.
I think, I've spoken with, for example, I had the pleasure of speaking with Glenn from Hempblock. I'll just say his name. And he said that it would require some association testing to prove that we are not degrading the quality of the product. I said I agree because we do need to prove that we do need a third party guarantee that is reputable to prove that we are not degrading your product because people live in this. However, from our in-house testing, we know that we increase the strength of concrete from 2,500 PSI to 4,500 PSI. We've done it.
Is it a powder you're mixing or a liquid?
We're mixing in our liquid. We do have a powder version that would actually work in for transportation purposes, but we do have, but it's a custom made additive that you throw into cement and we can do it. And then with the fireproofing, now you can take the fireproofing with the mold and mildew resistance. Now you won't have mold and mildew in the walls. ever.
Okay, so there's another gentleman that's talking today. Oh no, not today. His name is Carl. He's been doing Hempblock and Hempcrete globally for a long time. He has also figured out that if you build a Hempblock home, now you can power your house. I'm curious, how does this then affect, because it's conductive. It's, what is it called when something has a charge, right? And
it's ionic and not covalent. It's ionic.
Whatever it is. Yeah. The hemp itself holds a charge. The block will hold a charge.
The electrostatic.
And so
charge?
after, I don't know. I'm not good at
Don't
this
worry
stuff.
About it.
But I am curious. I'd love to introduce you because he's going to understand it. And if it's setting the blocks faster, does it also increase its conductivity or?
Here's what we have for battery technology. We did a test where we did a test with batteries, and we do have in-house proof of a successful reagent application where you can replace not acid. I won't say replace acid. I'll say our reagent as a battery is there. We have the ability to hold and release charges. Yes.
Okay.
Because again, positive, negative, and neutral molecules.
Totally.
It's just that the battery technology section is not, number one, tricky. Number two, requires R&D. And number three, you're living in a house that's a battery. Let's see how we would do that. Would we build columns would we build isolated columns with just our, like, rods, like a giant hemp rod to kind of like put it in terms of nuclear rods? And, you have a column 1, 2, and 3, which would interact with the house and wiring coming out of it. And then, yes, I know what he's saying. Yes, we have seen proof of even grass being used for energy. There's a study that was done where you use like regular grass, I think, where they broke it down and then boom, there was energy being taken and out. But
sure,
every plant has a certain quality. Hemp has the capacity, through like the same way that graphene has the capacity. It's the same idea, like biochar, turning it into biochar, and then that biochar can be turned into graphene, and then boom, there you go, batteries. Another thing with graphene can be done is, because we can not react with anything, we can also help out with any of that research and all that. So we've got all that aspect, we've got it all in the works per se.
It's awesome. So if I can help bring connectivity and people to the table outside of, say, academia, who else can I bring to you? Who else can I really drive connections for?
Honestly, right now, the main person we've been working with, has been with Richard and James. Yeah. Those have been the main players. And
what would help those projects move along?
Yes, all I could say is funding, from what I know.
Okay.
Their money, their research division, money for the joint venture research divisions, and then I think maybe other academia to kind of keep pushing the limits of our R&D. While for farming, we already have pretty much, we have our in-house testing. We if the R&D money's there, we'll take it and we'll keep testing the product, because every, a fresh pair of eyes on something can always find something new. So we're open to that. But commercialization wise, I think would be most effective right now for farming, and are getting this product on a few hemp farms to try it and see if they like it, and other researchers to say, okay, let me see if this stuff does what it does for hemp and the soil. And it's like, and I know it's going to work. And they're going to be like, oh, wow, cool. Because even though I only have one cannabis grower as proof, and he's doing a very, very non-scientific methodology, very way of growing. He's doing things very, very ancient.
Sure.
But it works. It works in a pre-technology setting. I can only imagine what the 21st century technology with my stuff will do.
Right.
So,
what other events or meetings are you attending? Are you going to any of like the trade shows or anything like that? No?
I've only been to the Lucky Leaf Expo here in Austin because it's here. And
isn't that this next week?
There's one in Dallas
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to drive to Dallas for 3 hours. I've already seen what the expo's about. I picked up on a few people. And it comes down to, and then also some of the people that were going to test it backed out because of the market. They said, Eric, this year isn't good for us. Come back next year. And I was like, what? And I'm like, sorry, this year for hemp was not the best. Yeah. And that's why it's another reason that I'm been stuck with medical cannabis, because they're growing.
Right. So. Right. Well, and that's what's been so tricky is everybody's lost so much. I mean, I really imagine you're coming in with a snake oil solution, quote unquote, right? And they've already lost their ass. They're not interested in trying to lose again or risk this opportunity. I envision that the more people you have that have tried the product that can speak to the testimonials of it, the better off you are, right? The more people you get talking about it. I have I wouldn't mind doing a meeting or a Q&A about alternative fertilizers and bring you and a couple of other people with organic fertilizers to talk about what's different, what's better, why is this product work, how should we get away from the standard fertilizers that are being used in big ag. If you'd be interested, I'd love hours. Okay. I'd love to have you on if you want to do something. I'm booked out until September, but if you want to put something on, I would love to have you. We could even speak directly to a farmer group, or we could be strategic about who we invite to the meeting so they can hear and ask questions and help bridge that gap. And then before the meeting, I'll share with you all of the participants and list of questions they ask. So you'll know before going in what kind of questions they have, who our audience is, kind of gauge who they are and how to speak to them.
That's awesome.
And then I can help moderate it for you.
That's awesome.
You want to do that?
Yeah, 100%. And okay. I know for a fact we're going to have to do a part 2 to this, because with all the updates coming and all the R&D stuff and everything coming out, I think they're going to be blown away for sure.
I'd love to. Well, let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and chop this up for us and use part of this. But I think if we do another series or another one, and like I said, I like it when there's multiple people on the panel, because you guys can dive into questions that I couldn't bring up. So if you have someone specific, they're like, hey, I'm working really well with this guy, or him and I are collaborating, you're welcome to invite somebody up to the panel as well.
Okay. Definitely. I'm down for that.
Okay. I'll send you an email when we get off of here then with a follow-up and a link to schedule something. That works?
Awesome. I'll be there. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited. I have one other question. When we first met, you had mentioned that there was somebody in the, I want to say firefighter, that used your right? So I think that's another whole on the textile side. Is it something that we can explore?
100%, because just like I spray it with water, I mean, imagine your kitten stuck in a burning building. Take this, spray it all over yourself. I do not advise this, children. I'm only saying your kitten is burning and you're crazy enough to jump in a fire for your kitten. At least spray yourself with this first and then jump for the kitten. At least the fire will take it. At least the fire will take seconds before it evaporates the product. And you can at least jump through a wall of fire. I'm actually thinking about going to insurance companies with some actual testing videos like the one I just showed you. As well as, these Hollywood props guys that do these actual fire, dangerous fire tricks, and then firefighters for sure. I think if we can integrate this product into a hemp textile, we can essentially make a fire equipment or fire garment that would be lighter. Because I always go back to the 9/11 firefighters, how they had to go up almost 191 flights of stairs on all that heavy gear. No, this is the 21st century. We can cut their weight by half the latest. And that oxygen tank is probably going to be the heaviest thing they have to carry, because now we have something that will protect them from the fire. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's bring it up. There's a couple of textile people that are pretty innovative too. Do you know Neil Halverhall's natural fiber welding? He's figured out how to manipulate the natural fiber. And so he can take like a piece of yarn that has the little frays and stuff all over it and make it a really smooth, fine piece of yarn or spun. And so I would imagine, just because he's very much on the leading edge or cutting edge of new science in textiles, he would be more open to hearing something like this, right?
100%, yeah. I think he would.
I'll connect you to him too.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate all that.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Take care.